Welcome again, everyone. Bill and Jim here. We're a couple days late. Jim, you're on the line?
I'm here.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Jim and I, you and I, Jim, we spoke. We had a couple questions we didn't have an answer to. One of the questions was whether or not John McCain WikiLeaks claim has legs, and we didn't know what it was. I Googled it, and it turns out that John McCain back in 2008 had requested campaign contributions from the Russians. Now, I'm going to just mention that nothing that WikiLeaks has put out to date has ever been proven to be false. So I guess the answer to that would be, yeah, it probably does have legs, because nothing that WikiLeaks has ever put out has been proven to be false. You agree, Jim?
Well, if you had a track record like that and told me where a price of titanium would be tomorrow, I would trade on it.
Right. And then putting that together, we were just talking before the call, there was another question asking about the 5 various Russian ambassadors that have died since November. And I give you kudos, Jim, because you immediately said, well, because they knew something. And it turns out that in this WikiLeaks dump, one of the 5 that died was the ambassador that was, the request went to that ambassador for funds.
Well, the first, when we first discussed it, I think our thought was they had knowledge of some, they had common knowledge of some event that couldn't be made public or couldn't be confirmed by them if they weren't around at this time. So they had to go. And then you go to WikiLeaks and take a look at what they wrote. The inviting conclusion is there's a connection.
Right. Yeah, off the top of my head, I just mentioned that they were all personal friends with Putin, and it was a way to start a war by the deep state.
Well, it is a way.
But it sounds more like you were right.
Well, put it this way. One other thing is, it seems to be very dangerous to be friendly with Putin. All of his high school friends aren't around anymore.
Right.
And it starts there and seems to continue.
Yeah.
So, but that's just so not McCain. But, everything is different than you would think.
And he was
where did the report go? What have you seen in the papers? What have you seen anywhere? The 458 people arrested on a pedophile charges.
Nothing.
Where is Podesta right now? Okay.
Man.
Yeah. Well, the last report was he was in Russia. So there's so much in this swamp. There's such a stink. It's gone on for so long that you wonder if anyone, anywhere, amongst the most popular people in finance and politics, isn't involved. I mean, is there a legitimate person out there? Is there anybody innocent of the most heinous crimes against the country, as we're starting to see? I mean,
Jim,
is it possible that this, is it possible that Trump is so clean, even in his business stuff, that these guys are going nuts trying to find something that would be a valid point on which to challenge his presidency? I mean, today, did the Russians not say that Hillary Clinton's campaign people visited?
Yep,
visited with the ambassadors during the recent election campaign, and look at the tremendous pressure being brought on Trump just for that. How do you prove your telephone was tapped? Well, we've been through that, and when information which is private to you can be read on the internet 10 minutes after you've decided and on a direction, you've got to know you've been tapped. So the hardest thing in the world to produce is proof that you were tapped.
Jim, I would ask this. Now, what you're saying is when stuff comes out immediately, how was President Trump's first phone call with the President of Mexico and first phone call with the Prime Minister of Australia, how did that become public within 24 hours when I would assume he made that call with no more than half a dozen people in the room?
The absolute specifics of that call, and again, if the reports were one-sided, came from that meeting. If it was two-sided, it came from a tap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got things going on that have never, that probably have gone on. It is serialized. I mean, maybe two things one year, one thing the next year. We got it all going on right now. I mean, that pedophile situation has a lot to do with individuals involved in the recent election. But what happened? No news anywhere by anybody as to where that situation stands right now. And as you said, we wouldn't even know about it except for a convention of the sheriffs that decided it should be public.
Right. They did a press conference, and it had to be covered.
Because the sheriffs are the ones that arrested them.
Yep.
So, it's very easy to get yourself killed today. The fact that you and I are having this conversation means God's got to love us. Okay? Because there's no reason whatsoever why we should be inhaling and exhaling with the subjects we've dealt with, and we'll continue to deal with.
Well, Jim, I know one of the questions down the line was asking, or the comment was made, the reason I voted for Trump was because he promised to drain the swamp, and it seems that he's putting people in place that are linking back to Wall Street power. Is he going to drain the swamp? Is he going to try to drain the swamp? Was it a campaign lie? What do you think?
I was shocked myself to see Goldman Sachs all over the place, and leading banks and institutions. It just wasn't his. It didn't strike me as his style, and if there was any payback that was incorrect, the first thing I would have thought about would be previous loans to his business interests.
Okay. That would make sense.
But it could be that it wasn't thought through. You'd like to think that Trump knows the answers to all these things. Trump is on the inside and has knowledge of just the two subjects we just discussed.
Right.
How do you know he does? His own insiders work against him. He is the Lone Ranger, and I don't think he's even got Tonto to help him.
Well, I think he probably has some close allies, but I think he's got some people close to him that are not rowing in the same direction.
No, they're not. They're not rowing in the same direction at all. And the ACLU has been giving out instructions how to resist everything he does. The plan is not to let anything he wants happen, and to paralyze his administration by diversion of attention on a whole bunch of nothing, so that he can't get something done. I mean, this Obamacare has been for the life of its existence, and even before that, a primary political hot football, and clearly so, because it is now publicly known it's going broke.
Right.
But now, why is there so much pressure against doing something to fix it, like getting rid of part of it or all of it immediately? Why are these states putting up such a legal fight to prevent free entry to countries that are known enemies? Are we so stupid that we're going to import everybody who wants to come in from the nations creating the most destabilization in the world? I mean, what kind of fools are we? It's just politics. Those judges are known to be outrageously liberal, and all this is another strategy to cause Trump confusion and to take his eyes off the ball, to see that nothing gets done,
or to take our eyes
to undo as many of his proclamations as possible. Did you ever think for a moment this place is ungovernable? That maybe you can't govern the United States? Anyone?
I've thought that it very easily can become ungovernable.
I think it has, because the Republicans are turning against the Republicans.
Right.
And the Democrats are in total confusion with questionable leadership. I mean, really questionable. That woman Pelosi looks, is she for real, or is she nuts? So I come to the conclusion that we got more problems than we think we have.
Right.
You and I look at the finance, and we've put most of our attention on the impossibility of any cure due to the simple mathematics of it.
Yep.
But what if the government is non-functional? What if the government is only interested in who's got the power, because who has the power gets the bucks? Oh, another one today. It's normal that you fire you replace, excuse me, the federal attorneys.
Yep.
It's been done by every president probably since George Washington. But when Trump does it, it's prejudicial. And some evil act. I honestly think under these conditions, nothing could get done. Nothing. So you say in the question we had before, will Trump be able to get through, his promises? How about the answer no? And the truth is, Obamacare, if left alone, will demonstrate within a very short period of time what a piece of junk that plan is by going broke.
Right.
And you wonder why here's a guy trying to fix it. But before you fix it, before you fix anything, you got to take it apart. And the rhetoric involved with this would make you think that Trump is an evil person who simply wants to take away the health care of the widows and orphans.
Well, if something's not done, no one's going to have health care.
No, nobody. And in truth, you'd be better off nobody than having Trump care go bust and doctors all get stiffed and the whole system falls apart.
Yeah.
I mean, we have more problems now than we had before the election. The deep state, even knowing without any doubt that there is a deep state, a dark source that runs what we see, is paralyzing to getting things done right. MSM looks like, they just look silly. And everybody with half a brain knows we don't have any news whatsoever. whatsoever.
Yeah, there's no logic and nothing nothing adds up. I mean, what is reported, you look at it and it doesn't make sense.
Well, Fox tries to be nice to Trump, but the solid nature of their news is not something to get an Emmy for.
Right. Well, Jim,
there is no news.
Switch gears and go. Because we got 4 or 5 questions.
Yeah, let's do the questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's do a question regarding the gold, silver manipulation suits.
Good.
Whether you think they're going to work, whether you think they're going to function, and there was also a question. A reader wrote in and asked if we thought that Mr. Trump even knew about it, if this would be something he would look at.
Yes. Well, I've done an awful lot of work right in that sector, okay?
Yes.
And I want the listeners to know, I want you to know, Bill, no significant legal firm will take on the case. It's been relegated to class actions, which are a joke. There is much more to it than people understand, but the quality of counsel has to be not only in nature of the advocate and articulate, but has to have courage, because not only are these banks that you'll be going after main supply of funds for the Fortune 500 and others, but the offtake that they don't say to you is, if you brought the suit that would really work, you'd find yourself in a ditch dead. And I know what suit would work. And I know you can't find an attorney anywhere to take it on. Even if you paid the attorney, he wouldn't take it on. I mean, if you're not going to go for class action and you're going to retain counsel, you're going to pay counsel. It's not going to be an on-the-cuff deal. So there are those willing to pay to have it done. But at the present time, there is not one single law firm of any significance that will touch the fact that what has taken place is criminal. Won't touch it.
As to the question,
and none of these cases are really going to work. They'll get paid off. They'll get $50 million or something like that, but they're not going to make the recovery that this long-term theft has made a profitable business.
And as to whether or not Trump knows about it or would look at it.
Well, I think in the normal course of action, why would he care? It wouldn't be his business. It wouldn't be where he'd look. And if you can go to, I've been thrown out of firms I've done business with for 20 years, and who have earned very significant millions from me. That's the hottest potato that exists anywhere. And when a law firm doesn't want the money and won't take the case, you've got to know what they fear.
Exactly.
Not only economic problems, but it's very easy to get yourself killed now, as the Russian ambassadors know, as many that were in the recent election campaign know, or connected to it know. So my answer is the suits will win, as some have, for peanuts, because if you get $100 million between two cases, and these cases are class actions, then your attorneys are going to take a third for starters.
Right.
On top of that, you're going to have expenses. That's going to be another 10% or more. By the time you get finished, at least 50% of the winnings have gone for the cost of the action. And then then there are other claims made, where other people fit the class and want to be part of it. By the time you're finished, you get a check for $1.50.
And discovery never gets done.
Never happens. That's where the settlement takes place. And if you had a case, Bill, where you could earn, between 30 and 40% of $100 million if you settled, don't you think that's a tremendous temptation to settle? So the lawyers,
people, yes.
The lawyers are the winners.
Yes.
The plaintiffs are the losers. And the whole thing is a waste of time because the truth never comes out. The energy that I've spent on trying to get this thing taken care of is tremendous. I have to tell you, it won't be taken care of.
I would just add, to answer the reader question, does Mr. Trump know about it? I would say he absolutely does, just based on having David Malpass and Judy Shelton as advisors. He absolutely knows the deal. He knows.
Is he interested in it?
He knows what's happening.
There's so much crap out there. Does that stinking part of the swamp smell any worse than any other part of the swamp?
No, it's just another corner of it.
Just another corner of it. Will he get around to doing anything about it? He's got his hands full right now trying, every morning he wakes up, he's got to say, why in God's name did I do this?
Okay, next question. As reported back in October, unfunded liabilities have reached a staggering $1.75 trillion. Unfunded pension liabilities reach $1.75 trillion, with no short or long-term remedy in sight. With so many Americans relying on these pension funds to live on, what event is likely to occur to the unfunded pensions, and what will be the expected outcome?
Well, there is an arm of the government which is sort of a full faith and guarantor of pension funds, except it hasn't any money.
Right.
Compared to the problem.
They have nothing.
So I would say chalk another one up for printing money.
Right. Yeah, my answer to this would be you're going to have an awful lot of people that worked their entire lives, believed that they were all set and would have enough money to live till their dying days, and they're going to find out that they don't.
Well, I think their dying days would come a lot sooner than expected.
That was the next thing I was going to get
to. Yeah, due to starvation and a few other things.
Right, we talked last week about
here we go with money
hours.
again. Yeah. What out there? What last men standing, or women, or you call it? What last entity standing will cover and guarantee buying power? Gold and silver, nothing else. Certainly not pension dollars.
Yeah, unencumbered gold and silver.
Yeah.
With no counterparty between you.
No counterparty risk whatsoever.
While we're talking about this, because I know this question was on the list too, somebody was asking about buying mining ETFs.
Well, ETFs themselves are very strange structures. GLD probably being the strangest of them all.
Yes.
And the answer to that question is don't be lazy. Ask your broker for the prospectus, which they must and will get for you. Sit down on a Saturday and read it if it takes till the end of the weekend. And you'll terrify yourself worse than a horror movie in what the fund is allowed to do, what the fund is not responsible for, what is considered gold by the fund, and it goes on.
Well, Jim, let me add to that, and this is my personal opinion, so if somebody doesn't like it, don't sue me, it's just my opinion. The way ETFs are set up and with what's about to come, and this goes back to your GOTS strategy, why not do some research on your own and pick 5 or 10 individual companies if you have a sizable enough of capital to do that, buy the individual companies and have the certificates sent out, or at least put it in with direct registration with ComputerShare. And the reason I say this is I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know when the system comes down, are the ETF shares, if it turns out that there's naked shorts and overissuance and blah, 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 I would think that having shares in hand in a certificate is more proof than saying, look, I owned an ETF and they had X amount of shares. Maybe I'm wrong.
Again, if you ever read what in bonds is called indenture, what in securities is called prospectus, you'd be horrified. You don't have to have gold. You can have futures. You don't have to have futures. You can have over-the-counter derivatives. You don't have to have the security. You might own an option. Okay?
Right, that's with GLD.
So what you have is counterparty risk written all over it, everywhere. So what it depends on, and rightly so, is that human nature is lazy. And if you could provide an easy way to do anything, especially financial, that the majority of people involved will go the easy way. And brokers only care about commissions. They don't care about anything else. So it's much easier to say, well, 5% should be a gold, and XYZ EFT takes care of that. Okay, we buy that. Now we're in good shape. Okay, you're not in good shape. It would be the worst thing in the world would be to see gold at 5,000 and what you have in a liquidation court.
Right, untouchable.
Where the probability is you're going to get nothing.
Right.
Go and pick it for yourself. Okay? Look at what shares are closest to physical or are physical. That's where you should be.
Yeah, I wrote when GLD and SLV first came out that I thought they were a pressure valve so that people would choose the easy way, which would ultimately be the wrong way because you don't have direct ownership. And I was poo-pooed, and it's my opinion that with all the things that they can do, they are doing. They are buying futures, they are buying derivatives, they are buying blah, 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 and it's not physical gold. You don't have what you think you have. But if you do it the hard way, the right way, and you go buy physical gold or you go buy physical silver, you store it personally or you store it outside of the country or in a non-bank vault inside the country, it's real gold.
Well, I will tell you, and I think you'll agree with me, that unless they have somebody like yourself doing that for them, it is a major PIA, pain in the ass.
Yep, it can be.
And, it's something most people simply won't undertake. And the advantage that gives to those who would scam is amazing. And I don't believe that EFTs in metals will function in the main.
No, not when there's stress.
Yeah.
And when there's stress is exactly when you need it.
Yeah. There are some gold advocates that have EFTs, and I would hope that they will distinguish themselves. It's a hope.
Yeah, there are some that I believe are physical.
Yeah.
But
they're not the most popular.
Right. As far as storage is concerned, I don't think I've ever mentioned this or even written this, but I can help people store with either Brinks in Vancouver or Montreal, then also with Dakota Depository in Fargo, North Dakota. So just to mention that, like you said, Jim. It is a pain in the
For
butt.
the individual to go out and try and accomplish a significant position in the physical metal is a raving pain in the ass.
Right. And I can help with that. So let's take this as the last question, because it's been bandied about now for, well, probably for over a year. Ted Butler has talked about J.P. Morgan has stockpiled over 500 million ounces of silver. I initially kind of poo-pooed that until this year. You could absolutely see J.P. Morgan standing continually, day after day after day, standing for contracts, for delivery. And the reader is asking, in the event of a currency reset and depleted gold reserves, if J.P. Morgan truly has stockpiled 500 million plus ounces of silver, could this be used for a silver-backed U.S. dollar?
Well, that's a large jump. I think it could be used for making an absolute fortune for the entity that owns it. The people who made the most money in the shortest period of time in late 79 and early 1980 were just the people who everybody suspected were the lead shorts.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen again. You take a jump and say that silver would back the dollar. When you say back, the listener has to ask himself, when you say back, do you mean convertible or just having?
You're talking about a big number.
Yeah. So just having would be the answer, but I didn't know that Morgan was the U.S. government, agent for currency. I mean, it would have to belong to the Fed of the Treasury, not to another commercial entity. And that commercial entity wouldn't make a patriotic donation of their very valuable inventory to any government. So the question is a very solid question till it makes the flip from do they have it, which they do. Is there a historical precedent for these people making a fortune long? And the answer is yes. Two, will it be functional to substantiate a currency? So the answer to the last part is no.
Yeah, I think there's another question there, Jim. The other question is, whose silver is it? Is J.P. Morgan doing it for themselves? Are they doing it for the Treasury? And I've even speculated this may have been accumulated for China. As I understand it, the U.S. leased 300 million ounces back in, I think it was 2003 or 2004, which we don't, we never saw a big movement.
Well, the advantage of silver and gold is it's the quietest financial entities that exist.
Yeah,
all those who claim to know the ins and outs of the trades and what's going on, and you know what they're full of.
Right.
The privacy of metals is one of its greatest attractions to the super wealthy.
Yeah. In any case, I think the key question is, whose silver is it?
Yep.
If it does exist, if they truly do have 500 plus million ounces, and it does look like they have been accumulating silver in big size, who are they doing it for? Are they doing it for their own book, or are they doing it for someone else?
Well, if the size exceeds the capital and you're paying cash, you're not doing it for your book.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, if we take 500 million times 20, you're looking at $10 billion. And I think, I'm sure that J.P. Morgan could get a hold of $10 billion.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but, wealth today is not, there was a time when wealth was, in the hundreds of thousands, then in the millions, then in the billions.
Now it's
in the trillions now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, so you'd have to have a markup on silver to truly, if that was the plan to back dollars with silver, and like you, Jim, I agree, I highly doubt it, you'd have to have, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 zeros added to the current price to even.
It would be astronomical.
Yeah. I mean, it would be many, many, many multiples of where the price of gold is right now.
Yes. Well, I just think that a country with a balanced budget, trade balance, much silver and much gold would be the most attractive currency there is. No such currency exists, of course.
Well, on that note, Jim, let's wrap today up, and we've got a few straggling questions left. Let me kind of sweep them up and put them together, and we'll fit that in with whatever we decide to talk about next week.
If there isn't some very important subject, we will flatten those questions definitely next week.
Great. Okay, well, we thank our listeners. Sorry for the delay. I'll try to get at least one article out this week, possibly two, and get this posted as soon as I can.
Bill, thanks a lot. As always, I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jim. God bless the listeners.
Bye-bye
now.